I don't even know why I popped that up. This ain't Positively Awesome Wrestling. That ain't what happening. Today we have a little something different. Tidy, handcuffed at work today. He cannot be joining us, so we are going to do a little something different. Since we both seem to be masters of the booking crafts, and I just love booking things, we're going to go ahead and extend from the Buddy Wars and bring it to the Drip King of Wrestling channel. Book it, baby. That's right. I put book it, baby. Don't know why I did that, but y'all know the drill. I'll fix it in a minute. We got looking good, babe. Thank you very much. And then Captain, a.k.a. Bodie and James. Oh, he just got booted. No more comments from Mr. Mc. I was going to allow you to participate with us, David, and you come in here and you call me James. The disrespect is very real today. I'll allow it, though. I'm feeling very generous.
Twitter pretty much did agree that we are the two best bookers on the planet, so we're not just making wild claims here.
Yeah, if you don't believe me when I say it, you can go verify it. It's there. It's somewhere there. Just go look. It's there. Believe me when I say it. That's all I'll say. So with that, you saw us a little earlier. If you joined us at WrestleBuddy, you saw us a little earlier. If you didn't, Captain, let the people know how you're doing on this fantastic Halloween weekend.
Doing pretty good. Yesterday got to hang out with my brother. Had a nice little cookout at his house. He's a what I would call a grill master. I'm more of the chef. Like, I like my oven. He's a grill guy. I suck at grilling, so I got some great burgers and brats. Then
brats, baby.
Basically slept all night. Woke up and did the Sunday pod today in between playing some video games. And this is actually day one. I'm going on a 85-90% vegetarian diet in an effort to drop some LBs I've put on since I started working at home. So day one in the books, no meat. That's why I had the big carnivorous blowout yesterday. But yeah, I'll see how long this will last. I'm hoping a while.
That's a hard one right there. It's funny because my girl just told me she talked to somebody, and I have vitiligo, and she says that there's an all-meat diet that I can do where it'll reverse the effects. So I'm like, you're telling me there's a reason I can eat more meat? I'm gonna have to look into it.
Hey, what's that meal? Omaha Steaks. You can get some good deals with them. Just bring the steaks, the burgers, the brats.
I ordered some brats from someone, and we just never got them. I was so mad because I love brats, my favorite food. And they have just like these crazy flavors. They had a blueberry, a maple blueberry one. That was my introduction to them. And I was like, I love this shit so much. We ordered so many more, and then we just never got them. So.
There's a great butcher shop here in Fayetteville, Richard's Meat Market. Tips to you guys. They've got like 16 different in-house brats they make. Oh, and each one is so good.
So with that, in case you're just joining us and you didn't see, we are booking some stuff. This ain't the Positively Awesome podcast. We are booking the AEW tournament that they got coming up to crown the next number one contender. I think this is their 16th tournament since
this
AEW.
Year.
Maybe. Since AEW came around, I think this will be number 16. So I thought, you know what? Why not? Let's see if we can book. I tend to think their tournaments are booked very predictable. That's not always a bad thing. I won't say that. It's not always a bad thing.
Makes me think Russo's doing some work for them.
I won't go that far either. That was him, not me, guys. But I do think that they're a little predictable at times, and I would like that not to be the case this time. I think there's a lot of possibilities we could have going in here. And I think the first thing to even get out there for everyone to know is that I think the winner of this is dependent on, one, who wins between Moxley and MJF.
Absolutely.
And two, if the MJF babyface turn is legit.
Ugh.
So I will go ahead and get this out of the way now. I'm booking mine as if MJF is in fact full-on babyface now, and he wins at Full Gear. Neither of those are guaranteed, but that's how I decided to book mine. How did you go about yours, or is it open-ended?
I'm booking mine with the assumption that he is the champion, babyface or heel. I'm still torn to see how that goes, but I've set my finals up to where I think whether he's working heel or babyface, it would be an appropriate match to have.
And I'll say that technically, both people in my finals, I could literally change it just to accommodate that if I wanted to. But again, I'll go full on that he's babyface and he's winning, and we're gonna get an incredible run from him after the fact. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the tournament itself. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, David. You told me you had a tournament, so you can play along with us, Dave. We're gonna go round by round. I'll break down my first round, explain why I picked the people and all that. Captain can do his, and David, if you get your stuff in there quick enough, I'll throw it up there for you too. That way we get three tournaments here. See how similar we all book these things.
I'm also curious who you left out, because just to see.
I'll go ahead and tell you right now the 2 names I left out. The one I left out that I'm not happy about was Darby Allin. I didn't put him in there. I'm a big Darby mark though. I love him. I wanted to get different faces in. That was my whole thing.
I love Darby too, but he wasn't a consideration because it's world heavyweight champion, and Darby weighs about 120 pounds.
I wanted him to win the last tournament and become champion. That's how high I am on Darby Allin. But
I wouldn't have been upset. I'm just I'm trying to book with some logic, something Tony Khan's not used to.
I'm trying to remember the second one I left out. Bryan Danielson, because I just don't think he should be in it. I just don't. I think the way he's been booked lately, he just shouldn't be there. That's not a knock on Bryan Danielson at all. He's also embroiled in some things right now, so I didn't think that was necessary to put him in it. I feel like there was another one I left out. I don't remember who it was. Obviously, it wasn't important because I didn't put him in it. So with that said, I'll go ahead and let people know my 8 people that I have chosen.
Okay.
This is not the order in which they are. It's just the 8 people I've chosen. I've taken Wheeler Yuta. I've taken Jungle Boy because I don't think he's ever been in any of these tournaments for the world title, and that's a shame to me. Ricky Starks, because we need this man on TV. I remember the other guy, and I'll tell you afterwards. Miro, because we need him back in the spot. Ethan Page, because he's criminally underutilized. Eddie Kingston, and I didn't want to put him in here, but when I start talking about my matches, you'll understand why. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. I put both of them in it. And the third person I left out, I just lost it again. Damn it. What was I talking about? We had Ethan Page, Eddie Kingston, Swerve Strickland, Keith Lee, Miro. Hobbs. I left Hobbs out. I wanted to put him in, but he just started a program. It seems like he just started a program with Samoa Joe and possibly Wardlow since they're together. So I left Hobbs out because I feel like he's got something going on and he doesn't need this tournament at the moment. Plus, I don't think he's ready for it. So that's the 3 I left out. But those 8, Wheeler Yuta, Jungle Boy, Ricky Starks, Miro, Ethan Page, Eddie Kingston, Swerve Strickland, and Keith Lee.
Okay, here's the 8 that made my final. Bryan Danielson, Swerve Strickland, Starks, got to have him. Hobbs, Bastard Pack, Wardlow. Let's see what Jungle Boy. What was my other one here? Oh, and kind of a surprising one. He just beat him out, but I got to put Hook in there just because I want to give this kid some exposure on something other than Rampage.
I'm going to love talking about the Hook introduction. I would like to know the names you didn't put in.
Okay. Wheeler Yuta just missed the cut.
Fair. He barely made my cut.
It's tough, and I really like Wheeler, but just wasn't going to happen. Lance Archer missed the cut. Sammy Guevara, Garcia, and Omega and Hangman. Omega and Hangman because right now they're going to take their medicine for what they did with Punk. Guevara, same for all the shit stirring he's done.
No Sammy Guevara slander allowed. AEW title I was wearing today was signed by Sammy Guevara. A little bit of tidbit info for you.
And Garcia, just because I don't know what the hell you do with him at this point.
He's so good. I think he's missing that something, but he's really, really
I'm
good.
glad we aligned on Swerve. If
Absolutely.
both of us didn't put Swerve in, I would be upset with us.
Okay, so we'll go with David. He says his 8 are Phoenix, Penta, Eddie, Sammy, Ethan, Rush, Roosh, Starks. You got 2 Rooshes in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 2 Rooshes. Fix it, David. I do like that he put. We got Eddie, we got Ethan, and Starks. So we got 3 right. Me and you, we have 3 of the same. I'm not mad at Ray Phoenix because I love some Ray Phoenix. I didn't put Sammy in because he was in the last one. And I wish he wasn't, because I don't think he was ready for that spot. But
the only one you put in that I'm scratching my head about a little bit is Kingston. And it's nothing against Eddie the man. It's Eddie the wrestler. I love Eddie the guy. It's the wrestler or lack thereof.
Again, when I break down my first round matchups, you'll understand.
Okay.
100%. We got Yuta in the midst of a turn and involved with Danielson as to why I left him out. And that's fine. I think when I explain my first round, it'll make a little bit of sense. And then, Bandito. So Roosh and Bandito. He's got Phoenix, Penta, Eddie, Sammy, Ethan, Roosh, Starks, and Bandito. I like it. The only person on there I probably wouldn't do is Penta, but we all know I do not like Penta. So that's the reason I'm not putting him out. So, round 1. Time to break it down. For my first round matches, I'm going with Wheeler Yuta versus Miro. And I'm doing this one so that Miro can destroy Yuta and reestablish himself as the monster that he was prior to losing that TNT title. Because when he had that TNT title, he was on a run. He was arguably the best thing on TV at the moment.
You said Miro over Yuta.
Miro over Yuta.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. My second one, I'm doing Ricky Starks versus Ethan Page. I'm letting Ricky Starks win this to give the fans a look into what kind of stuff Ethan Page can do.
Like that.
He's a good heel that can really help Starks kind of get some more babyface momentum behind him. Not that he needs it. He just needs to get more. And I think if you give these guys both amount of time and let them just go out and do something, they're going to steal the show. I think they both have that capability. This was the hardest one for me to book just because I do like Ethan Page so much. But Ricky Starks is just waiting for that opportunity to explode. Jungle Boy versus Keith Lee. This is a complete mismatch. And I did it because Keith Lee, he needs a credible singles opponent that can get very creative with Keith Lee's size, which Jungle Boy is very creative.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting to help work around the current limitations that Keith Lee has. I think we all agree there are some limitations there due to his size and cardio. I hope he returns. And I think Jungle Boy would be a great opponent to at least make the match entertaining. And
so who's going over?
Keith Lee's winning this match.
Okay.
I couldn't give it to Jungle Boy as much as I wanted to. Keith Lee wins. Which leaves me with Swerve versus Eddie Kingston. Because Eddie Kingston is arguably one of the top 3 baby faces AEW has. The fans love this guy. And if you're wanting to really solidify Swerve as a nasty heel, you have him come in here and you cheat Eddie Kingston. Don't beat him fairly. Cheat him. That way the fans are even more mad at you. Rob Eddie Kingston of this opportunity again and get the fans hating your guts even more, even though he did do an ultimate heel move on Rampage. I don't think it can get much worse than that. But having him beat Eddie Kingston, cheating Eddie Kingston, robbing Eddie Kingston to move to the next round, I think would be very good for Swerve to solidify himself as like a legit singles heel. And that's my first round. So now I will swing it over to you.
Okay. So the first round of this thing was the toughest to book because it was trying to figure out how I can get the best matches out of these guys. I do love that Jungle Boy and Keith Lee pairing. I don't think there's pretty much anyone else on this board you could have paired those 2 with, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Although Yuta and Jungle Boy, I would like to see that just for my own
that'd be a great
personal amusement. Yeah. So first round here, going Jungle Boy versus Strickland.
Fun match.
I like to keep it in the ring. the the shows, the promos, those can sink or swim. But as long as what's going on in the ring is good, you're it's tough to fail when at least the matches and the wrestling are good.
I
So
think
Jungle
they've had
Boy
a match and it was pretty good, but I don't think Swerve was a heel, so I think it could be a little bit more interesting this time around.
So, but yeah, Strickland's going to catch Jungle Boy. I still want Jungle Boy and Christian Cage and Luchasaurus to sort out their whole family issues at some point, if that ever happens. Next match, we're going to go Bryan Danielson versus Hook. I know Hook is young, but every time I see his matches, it's like he gets. I don't know exactly what I'm not. You maybe say like an Austin Theory. You may say, like a Ray Jr. when he first debuted. Or even an Eddie Guerrero. Every time you saw him, each match they got a little bit better. Every single time you saw him, Hook gets better every time, and I've never seen him have the same match twice. And I think he and Danielson, as great as Danielson is, he can cover up for whatever mistakes Hook might make in that, but I think those two would be great. But ultimately, Danielson's going to catch Hook just because I have further plans for Danielson in this tournament. Next, a battle of two guys that have just absolutely been getting shit canned, and I hate it. So I'm going to put Hobbs and Starks in a match together, and I want to see who looks better. Just because I like them both, but I want to see how this goes. But ultimately, I've got Hobbs catching Starks. And the final match of the first round, Wardlow and Pac.
Very interesting match.
They have, well, here's why. Wardlow has basically, because he's not in the EVP Cucamonga, California crowd, has basically been getting buried because the fans love him because he's awesome and they don't like the other guys. So they just bury him as far as they can. Pac, I love his gimmick. I love his work. I'm not a huge fan of Orange Cassidy in the ring, but the matches he had with Cassidy, I loved him.
I've gone as far as saying that I think Pac and Orange Cassidy's dynamic feud, it might be my favorite current rivalry going today, just because of the way Pac like acknowledges him. He's like, oh, I hate this little son of a bitch. He's such a pain in my ass. But I know he's good.
I would say it's been my favorite since MJF and Punk.
Yeah. As far as rivalries go, because theirs goes back a little bit further.
But Wardlow's going to catch Pac because I want to keep Pac in that North American title for a while. I eventually want to get it off of Cassidy and back onto Pac. But Wardlow advances in the first round. So Danielson, Strickland, Hobbs, and Wardlow.
So you got who wins the first match?
Strickland catches Jungle Boy.
Okay.
Then Danielson over Hook. Hobbs over Starks.
Okay.
And Wardlow over Pac.
Okay. And now over to David. He says we got Rush versus Bandito. Is a sneak peek of what the Ring of Honor title scene may look like. And these two have history. It was Bandito. So he's got Bandito going over Rush. Got Eddie versus Sammy because they have unfinished business from their last match. Sammy is on a bit of an upswing again. Yes, he is. His match with Bryan Danielson I loved it. Sammy wins. I like it. Starks versus Ethan. And look at that. We picked the same match. Not only do we have the same people, we picked the same match. Me and David ain't so different after all. A showcase for two guys that can and should be future world champs. Let the promos fly leading up to this. Then let them tear the house down. Starks goes over here and push up the card. We even booked it the exact same way. That's wild. So
one quick thing though. I'm guessing we both left Mox out of this because we're assuming after MJF gets the belt that Mox is going to finally take his vacation. Well,
I think the tournament is going to start prior. I think the finals might end up being at Full Gear, and then right. the winner will take on the champion at
Winter is Coming. Yeah. Okay.
So Sammy and Starks move on in one bracket, Bandito and Phoenix in the other. So I like that second round matchup between Bandito and Phoenix because Bandito is as well. So to touch on the like I said, I had plans. That's why I put Yuta in. Yuta is there kind of. I hate to do it to him because he is kind of a big deal at the moment. But using him to put Miro over, I think you need someone to put Miro over to make him seem like a credible threat again. Because it's a shame that I know he's been filming and everything, but it's just a shame that he's not on the television more because he was so damn good prior to losing that title.
But let's not forget, we talked, I think it was a few weeks ago, where it was on one of our shows, where you can lose a match and still be more over than you were when you walked in. MJF and Yuta a few weeks ago.
I might do the Miro match with Yuta the same way they did Miro versus Darby Allin, where Darby Allin just literally gave him every single thing he had, but in the end, there was just the size and power that overcame him. Darby still looked like $1 million coming out of that match, and Miro obviously won the title and became like a big deal. So I that's how I'd play the match. I think that's the way to do it. What's this? That's not the way to do it. Right there, I figured it out. Woo. Woo. So
we were missing our glitter bling.
I was like, what the heck? Where's my glitter? So, second round.
This coming from a man who says he owns many wigs.
Right there. I got my Cody wig right here, ready for
Mox
it.
is likely going on a break, and Jay White mentioned him a few times in the promos.
At their New York show matches on the weekend, so Mox may have Jay lined up when he gets back for the IWGP title. Bro, Jay White better smash that man for real. Woo. That would be the promos for that would be freaking phenomenal, though. I would watch that program 100%. Second round, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna do Swerve versus Keith Lee. They're still in a tag team because I like the dynamic these two have. Where Keith Lee is like, yo, I'm trying to play it cool. And Swerve's like, nah, Playboy, we here to hurt people. They understand that they're better off together for the business. And I like the dynamic. They're willing to put up with each other's shit because they understand this importance of being together. But in this match, I'm going to have Swerve go over on Keith Lee. And again, he's going to pull out some tricks here to really kind of screw over Keith Lee and show how far he's willing to go to succeed. Because that's what I feel like Swerve is doing. He wants to succeed. He wants to win. He wants to do all this stuff, which should be the case. But I feel like he really makes it a point to get that point across during his promos and when he's going after people. He's like, yo, I'm the top dog. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to let anybody stop me from doing it. Not even Keith Lee. So that's why I have Swerve winning over Keith Lee. Because I just think, again, there's a story there that you can tell with it. They're partners. And then Swerve's like, you know what? I don't care if he's my partner. I want to win. And then I have Ricky Starks going over Miro. And Ricky Starks is going to be playing from behind this entire match. Because it's going to go a lot like the Miro Wheeler Yuta match. In which he kind of just beats the piss out of Ricky Starks. And then in the end, Ricky Starks just catches him and is able to pull out the victory. Miro, again, gets to look like $1 million. Ricky Starks gets to look like he's getting there. He's going to make it through that final push and make it to the promised land and give the fans someone to be like, okay, we can finally get behind Ricky. They're finally pulling the trigger on Ricky. Let's go to give me a Ricky Starks and Swerve Strickland finals after the second round. So let me know how your second round is looking.
All right. So second round, this is going to be sort of our barn burner, Bryan Danielson versus Strickland. Again, this is why I love guys like Danielson, because you can put anyone in the ring with him and it's just going to be magic.
Yeah.
I love Swerve's work, but he's not, on that upper echelon yet, but I think he could be. And
I just don't think he's had the opportunity to show it yet.
He hasn't. Yeah. And working with the one thing I will say about him working in the tag team with Keith Lee, because of Keith Lee's conditioning, for lack of a better phrase, Swerve has had to carry those matches and carry them fantastically. Yeah. He has.
Yeah.
So Swerve is going to catch Bryan Danielson. Swerve's going to the finals. Then our second match, Hobbs and Wardlow. I agonized over what to do here. because I want to see Hobbs get a push, but Wardlow's got to go over here because Wardlow's clock is ticking in AEW. Just because they've done so little with him, and he's so damn good. He's so over with the crowd. So we're getting Swerve and Wardlow in our finals.
So, like I said, the reason I never even put Hobbs in to begin with is as I think he has what it takes to eventually be someone they could put the title on. Eventually. He's missing a lot. I think he's one of those guys that's going to have to go through that mid-card scene to really solidify himself and prove himself as someone that they can invest in. I totally think he'll knock it out of the park when the chance comes. I just think he's just missing that little something.
He's a diamond that needs further polishing.
Yes, big time. Yeah. So I like that you didn't have him go over Wardlow because, like, giving him the chance to go up against Wardlow, I think that would be fun. I think it'd be a cool match to watch. But, yeah, no. David says he's got Phoenix versus Bandito, two of the best luchadors in the world, and they met recently in AAA for the Cruiserweight title where Phoenix took the title. Bandito gets a measure of revenge here, and Bandito wins. I'm not mad at that because, again, from the little I've seen of Bandito, I like him. I think he's fantastic. Starks and Sammy, to get the championship, you have to beat champions, and Sammy has held them multiple times. This match would not disappoint, and neither will the winner, with Starks going over. Look at that. Look at that. So, Captain has Swerve in the finals. David has Ricky in the finals, and I have Swerve and Ricky in the finals. We're all not so different. We're all not so as crazy as that may sound, because we're incredibly different. We're not all that different.
Well, when you look at, like I said, when you look at the names, like we'll say, look at your roster and then book from there.
Yeah.
You look at the names that we, minus a few here and there, we pretty much had the same core guys.
And even some of the names that you had and I didn't, they were names I originally had in my head.
Yeah. It makes sense with a tournament like this because you're trying to, you're going to have MJF as a champion who is already an established star.
Yeah.
You have to, and we're not just talking your finals. You need to put guys in this tournament who you have plans to use, like you're establishing your core 6 to 8 guys that you're going to have your champion have to deal with.
You want people in this tournament that people can look at and say, I believe in one day these guys could be world champion.
Bingo.
And that the main
never put anyone in the tournament who is an instant lose.
They'll never do it. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Because otherwise, why are they there?
Yeah, exactly. That's why the one name you said that I thought was very interesting was Hook. And it's not that I'm not high on Hook. I think he's great, and I like the reasons. But we haven't seen anything from, honestly, because they've relegated him to Rampage. I don't even know if he's had a match on Dynamite. And when the one pay-per-view he was on, they put him on the pre-show, which I don't think that's the knock that everyone else does. I think if you're on the pre-show, you're still part of the big show, and that's a good thing. But
that's why I put him against Danielson.
Yeah, that's a good match to put him in because it allows.
That's the only reason he got in, because I'm putting Danielson in. I wanted to save Danielson's big match for Strickland in the semis. So I was like, okay, who can I have Danielson go over in this first round, but absolutely not make a star out of in one night, but who can just instantly get that bump.
If Hook's going to take his first loss, having it be to Danielson would not be a bad thing because Danielson's going to make him look good. So the fact that you did that saves the fact you put Hook in it. I was like, damn, he put Hook in it? That's crazy. I hope he ain't having Hook win this thing. No. That'd be straight bonkers.
I'm bold, but I'm not boneheaded.
So as David pointed out, yes, he's got Starks and Bandito. So the finals, David has Starks and Bandito. I have Starks and Swerve, and then Captain has Swerve and Wardlow. Very, very wild that we have two people, like between the three of us, we have the same two people in it some way or one way or another. I think that's wild because again, I don't think there's three very different people within the Wrestle Buddy community that we have. They're as different as us three, and we got the names. So, Tony, I know you're watching this. Listen, Swerve, Starks, push them to the moon, bro. They're ready. People are wanting it. Anyway, to the finals.
When two amateurs are booking your two next biggest stars better than you are, Tony.
In the finals, I have Swerve and Ricky Starks. And like I said before, I had this so that either way, no matter who comes out of Full Gear champion, we got a babyface champion, we got a heel champion. You can't go wrong with either one of these guys. If you're going to give me MJF as a babyface versus Swerve the heel, that's my ideal one right there. I think that would be a phenomenal first feud for MJF. I think it would be great because it's different. And I don't think Swerve is on MJF's level because nobody is when it comes to the microphone. But Swerve is very underrated, and I think he could hang with him a lot better than people would give him credit for.
I don't doubt it for a second.
Yeah. 2, Ricky Starks versus a heel MJF. You have a feud that could be a staple for the next 3 years in your company. This could be one of those feuds that just lasts because Ricky Starks is an unbelievable babyface.
Mm-hmm.
If Ricky Starks was to turn heel a year from now and MJF is a babyface, Ricky Starks is a phenomenal heel. So I think the two of those, the dynamic between them could be something that lasts. Swerve versus John Moxley. If that ends up happening, please don't. But if it does, Swerve John Moxley would be a great program because they could do some of that deathmatch stuff that John Moxley loves. And Swerve will out deathmatch him. I'm not a fan of it either, trust me. But Swerve will out deathmatch John Moxley. Write it down, take a note, I don't care. Clip this. I stand by that. He will out deathmatch John Moxley. And if for whatever reason it's Ricky Starks versus a heel John Moxley, sign me up. Pretty boy versus dude who looks like John Moxley who just violently beats people down. Yeah, there's a story there. I think it works. But as I said, MJF is a babyface in my opinion. He is the champion out of Full Gear. So we're going into a MJF versus Swerve Strickland feud in which ultimately MJF does win, but it'll be a great feud. And that's how I'm booking this tournament. Swerve is your winner.
Starks. Okay. See, this when my first draft of this, I had Danielson winning because I want to get Danielson versus MJF.
It's going to be money.
But then I thought, well, the winner of this is going to happen on TV. I want to save that for a pay-per-view. That's a match you can sell
Revolution.
a pay-per-view on. So I had to have Danielson do the job for Strickland because Danielson and MJF are going to have their match, but it's going to be in 2023. So that left me with Swerve and Wardlow, and I've agonized over this because I don't know if MJF's going to be working face or heel. He and Wardlow, it seems like they closed the book on that because they haven't had any kind of interaction, though it would be a decent callback to the fact that was like the curtain jerker at the pay-per-view when they faced. And
Wardlow has made some comments about it in interviews, and we know that MJF likes to bring that stuff into his promos, so that would be an interesting little take to do. And we didn't really get a match between those two. Let's be real. That wasn't the match those guys could have together.
Exactly. Yeah. And then on the other hand, there's Swerve, who you and I, there's not much more we can say on Swerve. No. We both think this guy is going to be the next big star that AEW, MJF is the first big star they've made, in-house star who can draw money. Swerve, I think, is going to be number 2, that's going to come up in that wake.
As Swerve said, he's the best acquisition they've made in 2022, and anybody that thinks differently hasn't paid attention because he clearly is. He is
other than Danielson and Punk, I think he's the best acquisition they've made, period.
I think Moxley's number 1. I know you're not high on Moxley, but he's done significant things for that company, and he's carried him in times when they needed. So he's the number 1 as far as I'm concerned. Swerve is number 2 all time, but as far as 22 is concerned, he's clearly the best acquisition they've made. It's the one thing I will shit on Hunter for is how he mishandled Swerve from day one. It was just nuts. Nuts.
You can't win them all. You
can't. But I give Hunter all the credit in the world. So if I'm going to give him all the credit in the world, I need to shit on him when I think he deserves it. And mishandling Swerve deserves it big time.
So in this, as much as I hate to do it, I've got to have Swerve go over Wardlow, and here's why. You can very easily, like everyone knows, Danielson versus MJF is a money match that's going to happen eventually. Yeah. You can very easily book an angle for Wardlow and MJF to continue business.
Yeah.
That's not something you need a tournament to get to.
Yep.
This is going to be a match on Dynamite, national TV. Swerve Strickland versus MJF. His first title defense, most likely coming out of Full Gear. And I'm hoping for one of those, not to compare either of these guys with them on that level yet, but that Flair Sting Clash of Champions type national television match where you've got the current star who makes or at least elevates your next big star in one night. Because I think with the promos these guys could cut with each other on the way there, the match they could have. Obviously, MJF isn't going to drop the belt, but I think he and Swerve could easily have a good, 30-minute TV match that would be epic. So, sorry, Wardlow, I'm going to have you and MJF do some business at some point, but I've done this tournament. I've got to make a new star. Just in the event, say MJF, God forbid, gets hurt in some manner, form, or fashion.
Don't even put that shit in the universe. AEW is not the one to be trifled with here.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to play chess, not checkers, and think multiple moves ahead and think of contingencies. If for some reason MJF could not compete and hold the belt, I want to have Strickland there as a guy who can easily slip into that world title situation. So Swerve catches Wardlow. Swerve and MJF at Winter is Coming in a maybe even do a 2 out of 3 falls, 30-minute match on TV. I think those two could pretty much do anything they wanted to.
Swerve versus MJF, I wouldn't be mad if it's Winter is Coming. MJF goes over, but somehow the program continues all the way through December. I would.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Maybe even January. Because I'm not sure when Winter is Coming is. I think it's
Full Gear is on the 19th, so Winter is Coming, I'm guessing, is going to be probably at least 2 weeks. Like, you got to give it at least a couple weeks to breathe.
Yeah, definitely. I want promos between them two, but as David pointed out here, Swerve is not a diamond in the rough. He's a cut and polished diamond, and he has matches on the indies that you can go watch and just be blown away by. Like, again, I didn't know who he was prior to NXT. I won't lie. And when he was sitting in NXT, I was like, yo, why are they not using this guy? Mm-hmm. The Hit Row stuff started. I was like, okay, he has charisma. But it wasn't until AEW came that I was like, yo, this dude's insane. Like, it's crazy how good he is. And I've went back and I've had to watch some stuff he does. And I'm like, this dude is legit awesome. What the?
Hobbs is a diamond that needs to be polished.
Yeah,
Swerve is a polished diamond that just needs to get its appropriate place in the chain and show what he can do against a guy like an MJF and a Bryan Danielson.
Like, my girl gets it. If you were smart, you'd save MJF for matches, for pay-per-views, not TV match. 100%.
100%. But if we've got to do it, I'm putting him with Swerve.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because Winter's Coming is technically a pay-per-view, whether they like it or admit it or not. So 12/14. So it's the middle of December is when.
Basically a month.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then what is it? Full Gear is next weekend?
The 19th.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That gives us like three Dynamites, I think.
Yeah.
To build that. That's the perfect way to do it. Swerve, MJF, do it, please, baby. But technically they do that with MJF now as a babyface. I think you have to have him wrestle a little bit more. I think you have to.
Well, again, this is what another reason that I can say I hate him doing a babyface turn is it makes you, if you get it all the time, you don't want it as much. And with MJF, a heel doesn't have to work in the ring as often, which makes the matches that much better. But at the same time, I mean, if Mox is going away, taking a break,
he definitely is. He freaking deserves it.
If you're not going to use this moment in time right now to make MJF your banner carrying, flag waving, flagship franchise of your company, I don't think you're going to get a better spot or a better point in time to do it. Give him the ball, let him run with it.
Yeah, for sure. What I'm saying is like
Face or heel, I prefer heel, but
yeah.
let him run with it.
I think MJF as a babyface is just very interesting to me because it's fun. I've said it earlier. He's a funny guy. We want to laugh with him. We're not laughing at it because he's funny. We're laughing with him. He reminds me of a stand-up comedian with how funny this man is. So to make him babyface and to have him just like performing for it's like he's standing on a stage with a microphone and just saying, "Hey, everybody, cut it up. I'm here to give you a good time, and we appreciate it and we love it." And I think that dynamic is very cool, as opposed to him being the heel and just kind of being an asshole all the time. It's like he's creative, but a lot of it is kind of cheap heat. He does it the best way possible. I'm not discrediting at all because he's awesome. If you're going to get cheap heat, you should do it like he does because he does it to perfection. But I think he relies on it too much sometimes. Whereas with a baby face, it's kind of the cheap pop is the way to go about being a baby face because you're literally doing it for the fans. You're trying to get them behind you. You're literally catering to them and to pop for them by doing cheap pops. It makes sense as opposed to cheap heat where you're just like, I'm talking shit about your home team. Oh, well, what if I don't even like sports? So why should I care to hate you? If that makes sense. I don't know if it does.
If they are going to go, if they are going to go with him as babyface, as much as I don't like it, if anyone can pull it off, it would be him. I'm taking this leap of faith and believing that MJF is going to be just as good to where he can play either role. I feel like he is. I just prefer him in one, but he could go babyface. And if Mox is leaving, hate him as I do, he's over with the crowd as a babyface at this point.
Big time.
And you need someone to fill that void. So I get that. And if anyone can do it, it's MJF. I just hope it doesn't backfire like whenever they tried to turn Sting heel or whenever they tried to turn Austin back heel after he had been babyface carrying the company for 5 years. You know,
let's go to David real quick and I'll touch more on this MJF thing because it's interesting to me. To be champion, you have to beat one. Starks must beat another former world title holder in Bandito to get a shot at the AEW belt. Great showcase from Bandito for the Ring of Honor, but Starks goes over. See, I love it. I love that he did that. Kudos. From my man, Ricky Starks, future world champion. I got it right there. I'm waiting for the day. I'm waiting for it. It's not now, but I'm waiting for it. What were we talking about with MJF? I lost it.
Well, something else, David. If Hobbs takes the belt off Wardlow, that frees up Wardlow and Max down the line. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so what's it got? Piper once said he would go into a rivalry for 2 years as a heel and allow the fans to eventually turn him face and have it seem like it was their idea. Yeah, that's ideally the way you want to do it. And I think that's kind of like what's happened with Seth Rollins, just a lot sooner. It wasn't 2 years. It was just a lot sooner. But MJF is a babyface. The reason
How much would you love to say, okay, Seth is 36, 37.
I think he's 36 or 37. Yeah.
MJF's 25. How much would you love if WWE wins the bidding war of 2024 and we get MJF Seth Rollins at WrestleMania a couple of years down the road?
I'll tell you what, I don't think MJF leaves. I can tell you why. During the interview with not Sam, which I highly suggest any MJF fan goes and listens to, it's really, really, really good. MJF talks about the whole bidding, like it's not off limits to him. Like he wants to talk about it because it's every time we talk about it, it's more money in this man's pocket. So power to him. He made an interesting.
But seriously, how much would you love to see MJF and Seth?
I think we can get it
while Seth can still go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do want to see this. The reason we're not going to see it on WWE, I do think we have the possibility of seeing it. I don't think a WWE AEW Super Show is out of the question. I think we're a few years away from it, but I do think we can see that at one point. I truly
think that's.
I truly do, 100%. And MJF versus Seth Rollins match is the reason I think because WWE can make money off that. Because even WWE fans know who MJF is and love MJF. You get Kenny Omega versus I don't know, AJ Styles, even though it's happened in New Japan. The WWE fans haven't seen it. And that's a match they'd be like, okay, I want to see that. Usos versus Young Bucks. They know these names.
No. Usos and FTR. Young Bucks ain't getting
The fans want to watch the Young, as much as they shit on them. I promise you, they want to watch the Young Bucks, if for nothing more than to see them lose to the Usos, so they can be like, "We the ones."
The Bucks wouldn't even take the deal if they knew they were gonna.
I don't believe that. I've seen them do good business before. I think they could do it again. But MJF made this point to where Sam asked him about Cody, and he said, "You have to kind of be thinking about like." When Cody went over and he went to WrestleMania and he got that pop from that huge stadium arena crowd, he goes, that has to entice you a little bit. And he goes, yeah, you're right, it does. But you know what entices me more is sticking around here and building us to that kind of show. And I think that's something that's going to be motivation for him, because if he's already the best in the world, he's already on top of the professional wrestling world. What motivation do you have? If you go to WWE, like, what is it to do? To do what you did in AEW? If he was to build AEW into something more, I think that's much more a bigger deal to him. And he seems like the kind of guy that would really like relish in that.
Well, the thing that MJF, to quote my favorite band, the Rolling Stones, time is on his side. He's 25 years old. He's got, think about how long Flair worked in Mid-Atlantic, the Carolinas, before he started there, I think, 78, 79.
Yeah.
And he didn't go to WWF until 92. Late 91, early 92.
Which is another point to make, is that
MJF could have a 10-year run in AEW as the man, and then go to WWE.
So that's why I don't think it's 2024. Eventually, yes, if he gets
I just said it because I want to see him and Seth.
And again, as David points here, they would be complete idiots, both of them. And I agree 100% if they just let the pettiness they have get in the way of doing this, because it could be the pay-per-view of the century and they know it. This is one of those ones. Here's a thing for you. They always ask, like, what does WWE gain from a show with AEW? What if Tony Khan said, you can use Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium for free for this event. You pay no money, you get all the profits. That's something that WWE gains from. Whereas money probably isn't an option. They do want more money. They're never going to say no to money, especially free money. And all Tony says, I just want to do the show. And then that puts more eyes on him and whatever, even though I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal for him. I think that right there is something you could do to make this partnership work. We will literally fund the entire thing if we can do this show together. And it's not going to be one of those lopsided affairs like the Invasion was, where you just destroy us all. The AEW gets the exposure, WWE gets the money. It's a win-win.
I mean, I'm never opposed to anything so long as it works. I would just be curious how you would set that up, because would you do an Invasion type angle, or would you?
I'd literally have Triple H come out and just cut a promo on Tony Khan and AEW, and just have it be the most real gritty thing he could do, and then just have AEW lose their shit on Wednesday, and then you just start promoing back and forth, and then eventually you have to have a face-to-face. I don't think you really do it with the talent. I think you do it with Triple H and Tony.
Do you do kind of what they did with ECW, the little invasion they did in 96, 97, where you have ECW guys appearing on
Raw,
or AEW guys coming on Raw, SmackDown, WWE guys appearing at AEW? Do something like that.
Something like that. But I wouldn't allow them on each other's channels too much to really build up that not animosity, but the tension. Like, you're like, okay, come on, yeah. I cannot wait. They're talking shit. They're taking all these shots. I want to see them get their hands on each other. So
face to face, but little to no touching, whatever. You've got to save that for.
I usually bring this point up. Thank you, David. I forgot it this one time. I even said it early today on the thing. But you also get AEW eyes on WWE again. For all those fans who gave up on WWE and they're just hard-headed in their ways, like, I'm never going to give it another try. And then this would do that. they would try it, and then maybe they like what they see again, and WWE gets a few fans back. I think there's a pride thing involved there with Triple H. He wants to get some of these fans back, and that's another reason this show could work. But I just completely went off course there. MJF, why I'm sold on him being the babyface. If he would have came out, because I was waiting for his music to pop when Mox was getting beat down. Because if his music popped, I thought we were going to get one of the loudest pops we've had.
Road Warrior pop.
It would be one of those just ones like, oh shit. If he came running down to the ring to save Mox and they all left, I would still be on the fence of, nah, he's probably still a heel. He's just playing us. The fact that he took an ass whooping though, and he got powerbombed to the table. He just got destroyed. I don't think MJF would put himself through that. The character MJF would put himself through that to trick fans. It doesn't make sense to me. That's why I'm sold on him being a babyface. And ultimately why I ended up choosing Swerve to win the tournament.
I think you're probably right in that he's going to. At first, I absolutely just rejected it out of hand. Like, no, Tony just did a few too many rails late the other night. But then I'm thinking, okay, we're all pretty sure Mox is dropping the belt to MJF, and Mox is, as much as I cannot stand Jon Moxley, he has earned this break, and I hope he takes it with his wife and, has gone for a nice long time, so I don't have to watch his attempts at, being a world champion in the ring.
That man's world champion all day.
But someone does have to fill that void, and you've got no bigger no bigger star on your roster who's more over with the people other than MJF if Mox is out. So
there's no questioning whether or not he can take the reins.
From that point of view, I get it. I may not like it timing wise, but if anyone can do it, it'll be Maxwell. He's just too good. The kid's too damn good.
He's money, baby. And the way you print money is you put your biggest star as a baby face and push that merchandise out and make money, baby. And they need some. From what I understand, they need some money. So,
well, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, let's say we're wrong here. Let's say that they push MJF as a baby face and it falls flatter than a pancake. What the hell do you do at that point? Because at that spot, who do you have left to step in and, you can't just keep calling on Jon Moxley to be that baby face who's over with the crowd. You don't have anyone else who is as over as MJF who's going to be available.
I'll say this right now, and it's going to sound harsh. I don't care. I firmly believe this. Like, they should do this if that happens. If MJF, as your top baby face, is world champion and it falls flatter than Hangman Page's run, you might as well just go ahead and close the doors. Because MJF is the guy they have been grooming and telling us since day one is going to be the guy. And we all see it. He is the guy. There's literally no way you could screw this up. If they found a way to screw it up, which I don't think they, I just can't.
Never put anything past Tony Khan, man.
I'm not as big a hater on him as you are. I think that this is you can't lose. You literally can't lose. You would have to be sabotaging yourself to screw an MJF title run up.
It is one of those situations where, like, if you bollocks this up, shut the doors. They've been grooming MJF, and if he can't carry the company, then when is he ever going to? Because he's never going to have a better chance to than right now. Because the cupboard is getting bare in terms of talent.
Because I understand. I'm not one of those people that hate
over talent. Let me rephrase that. Over talent.
I'm not one of those people that have hated on AEW for utilizing Jericho and Mox and Punk as champions. I get it. You're still growing. You want familiar faces as the head of your show. You clearly want that. But at some point, you got to sit there and be like, these people that we've been telling you are going to carry us to the next level, well, we're finally going to pull the trigger on them. And if you finally do that, and it's like, again, It'd want to be the one of the most colossal fuck ups in wrestling history if they were to fumble his title run. That's how certain MJF is as a talent and leader of your company.
We've talked about this several times. I always say that the finger poke of doom was WCW hitting the iceberg. That was the point of collision that started the sinking of that company. We waited how many years for them to start putting guys like Benoit, Guerrero, Jericho in that top spot? We kept waiting. 96, 97, 98, 3 years. And then at that point was when they could have made that switch over the course of 99, start moving the Hogans, the other guys further down, moving these other guys further up. And what did they do? The exact opposite. More Hogan.
And we're not putting people over. We're going to squash the people we're supposed to put over.
Yeah. Mox isn't getting any younger. Jericho sure as shit ain't getting any younger. Punk is gone. You've got to start elevating MJ, Swerve, Wardlow, Hobbs, Starks. You've got to start doing it over the next 12, 18 months, getting them that spot.
They have to elevate those people. They don't have to elevate MJF. MJF is the guy who elevates.
Well, by all I mean, put the world, let him have a run with the belt as the flagship, because Jericho ain't gonna be doing no jobs for nobody. Omega and the Bucks aren't going to do any jobs to put anybody over.
Jericho is doing the job to Adam Cole.
Danielson will still do jobs, but Danielson has been used so badly that there's only so many more jobs he can do before he does need to kind of get some of the win back.
Bryan Danielson's problem is that he's too reluctant to do the job, so that when he does do a job for someone, it's not as important. Whereas like people were claiming CM Punk wasn't putting people over. Well, CM Punk was winning matches, making people look good, and then when he finally did lose, it was a big deal. That's why it's important to kind of put your foot down sometimes, Brian, and don't take so many damn losses, bud. And as McGraw said, MJF is great. That was he emphasized that a lot. Great in that interview.
Well, you look back, look at the late 90s, 2000s. Who are the two nicest guys in the business? Mick Foley and Glenn Jacobs. The two guys that no one ever had a bad word to say about, and they often got criticized. You're too nice. Bryan Danielson has kind of stepped into that role as being the guy in wrestling who's too nice. And it's like, dude, you are arguably the best in-ring worker on the planet, along with 2, 3, 4 other names.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to compare Bryan to someone real quick that's going to sound absolutely batshit crazy. He is like Tommy Dreamer. It's like Bryan Danielson is begging to do the jobs to people. He's like, please let me do the job to this guy, because he wants to help them and move them forward. Tommy Dreamer, that was his life. He never wanted to win, man. He's like, just let me put somebody over. That's what Bryan Danielson has been doing in AEW, and it's kind of hurt him a little bit.
In philosophy, you're right. Obviously, Tommy Dreamer was not the mat tactician that Bryan Danielson
only in the state of mind of I want to put someone over.
In philosophy, you're absolutely correct. You're totally correct.
Not even close. Not even close. I will never. No, I'm never putting Tommy Dreamer over in that way.
Okay.
The idea of philosophy they had.
The first half of your statement wasn't batshit, but had you gone with the latter and I would have been like, okay, no. King, I think your crown's a little too tight. You might want to get that adjusted.
As your Danielson, Moxes, Omegas move out, your MJFs were begin to move in, and there's a group line behind him. And I want to see it happen. We've been waiting for it to happen, which is why I wanted Darby to win the tournament last month, whenever it was, because I thought it's like, yo, it's time. If you're going in a new direction, let's see these new pillars, your pillars, and let's see what they can do. Let's see if sink or swim. You have to do it at some point. You can't just play it sink or swim. Let's see what they can do.
Well, AEW has been around now for 3 years. Like I said, with WCW, 96, 97, 98, they just grew that great crop of stars and then didn't push them. And by the time they even started to a little bit, it was too late. AEW, 3 years they've been around. We're seeing this crop of talent that needs to go in that spot. And if they don't just go whole hog onto it or half-ass it or just horribly book it, they're going to see a nosedive in that the next 12 to 18 months is going to be really crucial for them. Either you're going to make that next generation of stars, or you're going to be wishing you had 2 years from now when nobody's watching your show.
And just to add on to what I was saying before about,
and Jericho holds all of your belts, and he's 60 years old.
The part where I was saying, if they fail with an MJF title run, they might as well shut the doors. Just to add to that, they tried to do it with Hangman Adam Page first. He would
when I still liked Page, and I still do to a degree.
AEW guy, because he was never WWE. He was an AEW guy. So have your title, and it fell flat. Like, it fell flat. So then you're like, okay, let's put it on CM Punk. And then when CM Punk went down, you had the option to like, okay, let's put it back on Hangman then. No, let's put it on Mox because it's a safe bet. So
you knew when they brought Punk in, he was going to get that belt eventually. You'd be stupid to not.
I don't know if Punk wanted that title, because there was the rumored meeting between TV execs and Tony when Punk came on, and the execs were the ones kind of saying, hey, let's put the title on this guy, because by their analytics, he was the number one ratings guy minute by minute.
Yep.
MJF number 2. So from a TV exec standpoint, they're like, this is your ratings guy, put the title on him. And he's a familiar face that people know that don't watch your show. Yes, put the title on him. I think that's where that started. Maybe I'm wrong. I know a lot of people will probably tell me I am, and that
I don't
fanboy Mark.
I don't reject that idea. I'm almost always more or less in favor of that, of putting your championship on your top guy. There are instances where, like Taker, he didn't need a belt most of his career. There was a point where, honestly, Austin didn't really need a belt at one point. Like his last run, like in 2001 when he won the Rumble, went to Mania, shook Vince's hand, and
I'm glad that Austin's runs were never great, because he was probably the best chaser in the history of professional wrestling.
WrestleMania 14 to breakdown in fall of '98, that 7-month run that he had. Literally, he dropped the belt for one day to Kane and then got it back. So he had the belt for 7 months. That was a great run. His second run was meh. And then his third one,
remember the chase more than we remember the runs.
I remember the run, the first run. After that, I don't really remember the runs that much. I try not to even get the runs, but that's a different subject altogether.
So that's why I say he was the ultimate belt chaser, because it made sense for him to have the title, but you wanted to see him take that journey, and keeping it from him just made it all the more better. Whereas when he had it, it was like, all right, he's got it. He's the best. Okay, now what? So I don't think he was a terrible champion. I just think he was a much, 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 much better chaser. And I can't think of someone that I enjoyed watching chase the title more. A lot of that had to do with Vince playing the ultimate heel, but yeah. There's another one. Steamboat was always a better chaser than a holder.
Agreed.
I can't speak on Dusty. I haven't seen it. I don't know that much about it.
Well, Dusty was so over as a babyface at one point. When you look at him in Florida before he made the jump to Crockett in the Carolinas, Dusty was the most over thing in pro wrestling in Florida. And whenever he would do spots in different places, he would be super over there. But you couldn't have the belt on him that long, because it would almost get like you said, some guys are just better chasers. With Dusty, it was like, okay, now he's got the belt. What's he gonna do? Because it's tough for him to work babyface with a belt for very long, because it's always more fun to watch him chase the Horsemen rather than them chasing him.
Yeah.
And Dusty couldn't run that fast, but I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely. Steamboat, I wish would have gotten more of a run, just for the pure fact of
he deserved it.
that he deserved it, and also he was in that echelon of Bryan Danielson level workers.
Yeah.
And I would like to see someone like that get a nice long run with a belt, just for the pure fact that I want to. Hey, here's an idea. Let's put the belt on a wrestler who's actually the best wrestler, and just see,
Let's see what happens. All right.
But also, again, Steamboat couldn't cut a promo to save his life, and Bryan Danielson is not that entertaining on the. He's okay, but he's not all that entertaining to me.
Danielson is one of the most underrated on the mic today.
He's okay. He's not. He's neither.
If there's a story to tell, he is fantastic with it.
He's neither fish nor fowl to me. I mean, I love the Yes movement. That was his best promo work, I always thought. But
I say his Planet Champion stuff was fantastic. But
I haven't never seen that.
Oh man, it was so fucking good, and it was very original, which is what I am all about. Original shit. But I think Bryan Danielson. Sorry, I keep saying Daniel Bryan, people, but I think Bryan Danielson is one of the people who's shown me that leaving WWE was better for him as far as promos go, because his promos are night and day difference between WWE and AEW. The freedom for him, I don't think he had it there with his promos. Maybe towards the end he had a little bit, but during the Yes Movement stuff, I don't think so. I think his promos are so damn good in AEW. And it's almost like he's such a great wrestler that we don't look at him as a promo guy. We're just like, that's the guy who I'm going to see wrestle in a ring, and he's going to blow everyone away.
I will say this, to go to your point about how much more freedom he had in AEW versus WWE, I far more enjoyed his heel promos than his babyface promos.
Absolutely.
I will say that it was short lived, but I will say I far prefer Bryan Danielson heel promos to Bryan Danielson babyface promos.
So we're going to hit up David's comments and we're going to wrap it up. He says, Danielson can get the story across. He's telling he's not just a top tier guy doing it with a mic. So hey, I think he delivers with passion. I think that's the biggest thing with his promos is I believe what he's telling. Yes. It's like, okay, I'm really believing him. I can get behind with what he's saying. And I think that's the difference I see between now and then. He said Dusty reached his status. He didn't need one to define them. And that's always, I like the wrestlers who get there. So you don't have to sit there.
They're few and far between, but when they happen, that's almost the best thing because they don't need no stinking belt. They don't want no stinking belt. Whether they're getting booed or cheered, you can put that guy on the card at the top, the bottom, the middle, and you are going to get something phenomenal every night, a la Seth freaking Rollins.
Macho Man.
Yep.
I'd say there's.
What was it, Matty? That he called Seth the Macho Man of this era.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That might be. I mean, Matty never says anything stupid, but of everything that I've heard him say in the almost year I've been working with Wrestle Buddy, that might be the one that's
he did
to me showed the wisdom to see that, and I hadn't even thought of that.
He did say vote for captain. That was pretty stupid of him to say, but that's for another time. I'd say there is some truth to the TV execs butting in with Phil and the title. And I think it was Fightful I read this on. It was a long time ago, so don't crucify me if I'm wrong. But I do believe I saw it on Fightful because usually I don't trust anybody else's shit. Jericho's working a story to get the belt on Cole. Booyah, baby. That's what I was saying, but I kind of got the idea from him.
Has there been any news on Adam Cole? I mean, at last I heard he weighed about 100 pounds, was emaciated. They were trying to put him in a humidifier or an incubator. They were thinking of doing bionics. I mean, they beat him to powder.
He's coming back at Full Gear to win the Ring of Honor title from Chris Jericho. And when he comes out to his Ring of Honor theme, boy, I'm going to be dancing like crazy because it's phenomenal.
Hey, I love me some Adam Cole. I want to see him come back. But when he's physically ready to do it, because I don't want to see this happen again to him.
If we remember, he came back that one night with Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and they destroyed the Young Bucks. And then we were supposed to be like, okay, we're going to get trios versus trios, the Undisputed Era versus the Elite. And it's like, all is right in the world. We're going to get it. Then Kyle O'Reilly got injured. Bobby Fish went absolutely crazy. And then Adam Cole has nothing to do. So they've went silent on Adam Cole. They haven't said anything about him recently, so I think he's probably good. They're just waiting for an opportunity. And as David has pointed out to me, all the Ring of Honor champions, which is Chris Jericho, is challenging. They're coming. They're losing. You do the ultimate one for like current day, at least, at Full Gear, and you get the Adam Cole return pop, and I think it works brilliantly.
I know because we mentioned this, I don't know, half an hour ago. With hindsight being 2020, you mentioned, you can't win them all. How Triple H just,
Yeah.
the Swerve Strickland thing just went way over his head, and he didn't do it well. Do you think what we've seen him doing with Carmelo Hayes is sort of him, realizing, because I see a lot of similarities between the two. Do you think maybe he's sort of making up for how bad he screwed up the Swerve Strickland run
I
by
think
taking
Carmelo
Carmelo and
Hayes.
pushing him like he has?
I think Carmelo Hayes is getting pushed because of Shawn Michaels. Because
Well,
I
don't care who's pushing him so long as he's getting pushed.
I know, but I don't think that's a Triple H making up for that. I think that's just Shawn Michaels saying, "Hey, this is the guy I want my name connected to for the next 15 years. I'm gonna push him to the moon. He's gonna be the first official HBK guy, so that when they do the photo and Carmelo wins a title in WWE, you're gonna have Shawn Michaels in the back going like this for him and all of that. That's the new photo op.
Well,
right
just
there.
as Shawn Michaels and Dolph Ziggler are Eskimo brothers, may we hope that Carmelo Hayes and Shawn Michaels are remembered for something far better than their sunny days.
And just in this one, I love Darby, but with his style, be reluctant to hitch the wagon to him is the only word with him. And I wouldn't have him with
He's one spot away from breaking himself in half.
Here's what I would do, though. And I had it planned out based on what I thought was going to get booked. I wanted Darby Allin to win the title because at that time, we all pretty much knew that MJF was going to be coming back and winning the chip. He cashes in the chip at Full Gear. You have your first pay-per-view that is headlined by Pillar guys. See what your pay-per-view buys are. Let's see what they are. And then you put the title on MJF then. That way, Darby had the opportunity. He can say that he's a former champion. I think he deserves that. I think he's been a very big part of their growth. However small it is, I think he's a big part of that. And then you're off to the races with MJF, as we're going to be anyway. So
I would do the test run, sort of like with why I had Strickland win our mock tournament tonight and doing a TV match with MJF. I would do a TV match between MJF and Darby for the belt. See, take the temperature of the room before, during, and after, and see, okay, was this a one-off thing, or can we sell some tickets with this?
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my thing with why I thought Darby could be the champ. It was nothing like, let him have a fucking Kenny Omega style run. Now,
Darby, just stay in one piece because I want to keep watching you for years and years. I love you, kid. Just
top tier MJF,
entertain me. Just don't hurt yourself.
Type guys. Seth and Randy is a very good connection. And as Seth said on Broken Skulls, Randy is the original Drip King, or Drip God, not Drip King. I am the Drip King. Randy was the original Drip God, and that's facts.
More than Gorgeous George.
Yeah, that's before. I can't speak on things that I didn't watch like live. Going back and watching things because I miss so much of the shit not watching it live. So the Gorgeous George, I know like
no. Get on the Tubi.tv. It's a free streaming service. They've got some old footage from the 50s of Gorgeous George.
Okay.
In
I watched
California,
those things on Tubi. That's where I watched Kevin Steen and El Generico.
Yeah. There's a couple of Gorgeous George matches on there. It's either Chicago or Los Angeles from the 50s. I can't quite remember, but
and right
I'm talking about a great heel.
The match that MJF and Darby had in 2021 was very well regarded. That's right. So run it back a year later, see how much they've grown, especially since they both work with Punk and can tell better stories in the ring. Yes, please. I think that would be really good.
Okay, and I haven't seen that match. I need to try and find it.
MJF has stated that this might be his best match he's ever had.
Okay, now I really have to go and find this because I did not know they had worked together.
This is the one that he's the most proud of. He said this one and the guy in the dog collar. That's what. With that, I made him laugh. I made him crack. So we are going to end the show with that. Thank you guys for joining us. We will be back next week with Tidy on the Positively Awesome podcast. Hopefully, he can get free. Call out next time. I told him to call out. He didn't want to do it, though, so I don't blame him. But, yes, next week. He wanted to be part of the 10th episode because we are going to be doing some where we think things should be 5 years from now. More on that. Just watch the show and you'll see what we're talking about. So, with that said, goodbye and see you later. No Raw recap. You know why. You know what the problem